time for Planet Green.
We have launched.
We've completely launched. We've started the show, and it is Planet Green Cheese. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, the Planet Green Trees show is underway with your host, attorney Michael Komorn.
My Zoom's not on. All right.
We have launched.
All righty.
Yeah, we've launched.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this fantastic Thursday night, which is the December the 10th, 2020. My name is Michael Komorn, Komorn Law PLC, and you're listening to Planet Green Trees, episode 493. We're calling it Tabernacle. That may or may not be explained later. I want to thank you all for listening, and we've supposed to be live on Facebook. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if
We'll do it live.
Playing it live on YouTube. And we've got some good stuff we're going to talk about tonight. Amongst those things, we've also some fantastic guests. Let me discuss these guests that are coming in. Have a seat at the door. Quiet inside. Longtime drug policy specialist and analyst advocate Howard Wooldridge, who's going to be calling at 8:30. And, of course, DeAngelo of Harborside returns for all questions to be asked. I don't think we didn't have any specific topics.
We're going to have him and Howard on at the same time.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh, fantastic. Is it the same call at the same time?
We're mixing it up.
All right. Who's it?
Jim had some wild ideas.
Who's the DJ on that mixer?
That's DJ Esteban.
Okay. All right, good.
I don't know. It was your idea, Jim.
Potential topics for tonight. We may be ranting a little, maybe. We've got firearms become illegal with medical marijuana possession. This was an announcement out of, what was it?
Missouri.
Yep, Missouri. 10 differences between Arizona's medical and recreational laws, just so we get a perspective. Here's one that intrigued me. We have Kim Worthy, Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, releases a list of 51 untruthful police officers, known as Giglio material. U.S.
New list?
What's that?
A new list or the same list from before the election?
An updated list.
Ooh, okay.
An updated list?
In light of the fact that they're going to be going back to live courts purportedly in January. Do you want to get it out? We'll read the article, talk about it a little bit. U.S. House passes bill aimed at decriminalizing cannabis, clearing nonviolent federal convictions. This, of course, is the MORE Act.
Oh, yeah.
One of the main reasons and topics that both Howard and
We'll see.
Yeah, that'll definitely
Andrew are going to be talking about. And Detroit is to issue recreational marijuana licenses in the summer of 2021.
Yeah.
And I think that...
Oh, my gosh. There's so much chaos tonight. So much chaos.
Like David Roy doesn't know that...
He knows.
He's calling
He
me?
knows. He knows the Zoom.
All right. Send him the Zoom.
Send him
the
the
schedule for
Zoom.
sure. He's no rookie. He knows the schedule.
He did that on
Or
purpose.
is he at the front door?
Did he have? Does he have the Zoom link? Maybe he's trying to get the Zoom link.
Someone send him the...
Send him the Zoom.
I'll send him the Zoom.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
someone's got to call him. I can't be doing
We're
that.
not calling.
All right,
I'm
so here's what we're
gonna
going to do.
send him the Zoom
We're going to
link
introduce
right
everybody. We got a bunch of people on the Zoom here.
Yeah.
We want to get to our guests and get to these topics. A lot of stuff to talk about. Things are always interesting in Michigan. We try to bring cannabis reform and other things. So as we go around the room, I thought I'd try to make it informative for our listeners who are so curious to know about the entertainment personnel that we call upon to be funny and entertain every week. So as we go around the room, I'm going to ask everyone to identify, as I introduce you, a time in history that you could see yourself, that you would want to go back and live in. Time in history you'd want to go back and live in. So we've got, and you're going to have to answer, Tommy. And we got Tommy in the bunker. Tommy in the bunker. Introducing him. Waiting for an answer.
Tommy.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
I found Passover. Passover is not time. Jim Powers, are you
With
ready?
the pink shoes, the pink shoes, and the pink shorts,
Jim, you
or
got a time
whatever
in
you
history?
say.
You know, I guess I was just talking to Steve about this. I would go back to, not that long ago. Maybe, 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when we didn't have the chaos in the government that we have today. And I'm just beside myself.
It's just really ugly.
Yeah. So
You think it was better then, government-wise? I mean, I don't know.
I think that
Okay.
we had statesmen that ran things, and
Okay.
people acted in a professional manner most days. and some of the things that we're seeing right now, make me long for those days.
All right.
And
That wasn't the answer. Okay, but that's good. That's historic, and it's a clear answer.
historic. I don't want to go.
There's no judgments. You can say whatever you want.
You just
even if
passed the judgment.
Politically incorrect.
You did.
Whatever. We're not doing that. Just curious. Steve Miller, of course, was here from Komorn Law, PLC. He's the go-to rover. He's a fantastic musician. Many of you know about him from his catalog from the 70s. You can't say I want to go back to the 70s when I was on tour.
It's
not part of your thing. But please welcome Steve Miller. And Steve, identify your time in history.
Well, the one that comes to mind is the Roaring Twenties, because it seems like identifiably going back in history, that's the only significant point in time where it looks like everybody was having a good time.
Oh, there you go.
Well, interesting you picked the time of Prohibition, but
wasn't Prohibition.
And all the good times
Damn
were probably like, like speakeasies and whatnot. But that's funny. That's
they were
really
a good time, though.
So I guess it probably wasn't so good then, was it? I would rather go back to a time when the technology wasn't there, where life was nice and simple.
Yeah.
What's that dance that I'm thinking of in the Roaring Twenties? Steve's like sees that like an old film, black and white, and like some people doing like
that's what I got in my head.
Like bandana. Like all right, moving around the room. Moving around the room, we've got Amanda is not here. Amanda Joslin from the Elevation Station and a YouTuber in her own right, and great reviews on what an experience would be like at some of the various retail centers throughout the state. Please welcome Amanda Joslin.
Thank you so much. I do apologize. I'm not in studio physically, but spiritually, I'm there.
Certainly.
And don't forget everybody to like and share the Komorn Law, Planet Green Trees, and the Elevation Station YouTube channels. But also, we've got some amazing guests that Michael's going to tease in just a little bit.
And of course, your time in history that you'd want to go back to, if any.
Oh, I'm not going to take it too deep with this one. I think I'm just going to stop and freeze myself maybe between age 30 and 35, because life was pretty good for me. I didn't really have to worry about too much, and it was just pretty good time. So, I mean, if I had to think about a time historically, I'd probably have to go with what Steve was saying. I like the outfits and like the whole vibe and all that stuff. But, I'd like to freeze at age, at like 10 years ago, roughly, before things started getting crazy.
Sure, of course. All right, let's move over to the Rasta Rabbi. He's here, of course, my good friend Alan Peisner, great lawyer in his own right, and cannabis enthusiast. You can't tell by his uniform.
No, you can't.
Alan
Thank you,
Peisner.
Michael.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be aboard the Planet Green Tree spaceship, which is being sponsored by Komorn Law, the best law firm in the state for anything cannabis related, whether it's a business problem or medical marijuana problems with the law, or really anything criminal defense. Komorn Law is the place to call. You can find them on the web at komornlaw.com. Call them at 800-656-3557. And to answer your question about the historical period when I would like to live or like to have lived, I guess that would be the time period when air was clean and sex was dirty. In other words,
I like what you say.
What do you say?
That's what I'm talking about.
200
I'll
years,
go with that.
200 years ago, when it was patriotic to grow marijuana in this country, when it was normal, that'd be a cool time to live.
Yes. Okay. We have, of course, the esteemed counsel and at Komorn Law, Alyssa McCormick is here. Thanks for joining us, Alyssa.
Thanks. It's good to be here. I'm only here for a short time, though. I have to get back to Layla's dinner.
Oh, boy.
Okay. All right.
She's a very nice dog.
Excellent.
But as far as your question on the era I'd like to live, I'd have to say there's a couple. Probably like the 40s, maybe like 60s, 70s, and the 90s, back when I was born.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
To be a baby again, that'd be fun.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear what your answer would be, Michael. I don't think you told us yours.
Well,
Yeah.
first of
What's
all,
yours?
I want to hear what Jamie has to say, and then I can comment. We're blessed.
Oh,
that
and then you'll answer.
I'll give an answer, of course. Jamie Lowe, you're up. Thanks for being here today. Jamie Lowe, of course, is long time. He's the one responsible for everything. Everything. You name it, he's responsible for it.
So it's all true. Everything good. Yep.
And we're delighted to have him with him. He's got a lot
Everything
of
bad happened in spite of my efforts.
Right. Responsible for everything. Did you? Well, I want to hear what's been going on with you as I like to have you report and whatnot, so people can be aware of some other things that are going on throughout the state regarding your activities. But before you do that, please tell us what part of history, if any, you would want to go back and live in.
I guess I would. I'd shoot for probably about around 12,000 years ago and try to see what Atlantis looked like.
There you go.
It was up and running in its heyday.
Before or after the cataclysmic?
Just before.
Just before. So you want to be.
Before,
You want to
safely before. Yep.
safely before and certainly ending during the cataclysm.
Right before it. Yeah.
Like your cause of death, you're asking to be ultimately is the cataclysm, like the.
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay,
No.
all right,
Just
all
go back and visit for a while, check it out, be able to confirm, the hypothesis of the existence of the advanced lost civilizations, including Atlantis,
Sure.
and then come back and talk about it.
Excellent. All right.
Well, burning with.
Now Jamie understood the question.
That's cool.
Just real quick. Because I wanted, that's a thing, that's a time, place. Now I think any other place that someone may have said between now and then or after the cataclysm is probably going to come off as being politically incorrect. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jamie, you went to a place where, like, there was no, manifest destiny.
Confirmation of its existence. Yeah.
Right, but there's no manifest destiny. Like the whole,
Right. You're not picking an error that somebody might.
where someone's compromised or right. I mean, I study. I always enjoyed reading. I don't know. I when I was in undergrad, I studied history, and I did a paper at some point on the American frontier. The American frontier. Kind of the excitement of uncharted lands and carving out your little place and having to survive, but just the newness of all that after all these years of European continental, kind of like pushing everyone, and just the excitement and the rebirth of that. Of course, it involves the taking over the land of the Native Americans, which is not I'm not advocating for that, but it would seem without removing all that from it. But it was an interesting time, I think, and certainly one that had a certain sense of of newness that had not really existed before. It was a dream that did not exist in human existence, where you're going to a place and carving out land that you're going to own, and whatever. But anyways, so Jamie, tell me what you've been up to. I know you guys been celebrating, if I'm not mistaken, and we want to talk a little bit about that, the 2-year anniversary of the Recreational, because it was December the 6th, I believe, that the law went into effect, right?
The effective date, yep. And Michigan Normal put on a little celebration, a virtual celebration, and lasted for about 3 or 4 hours. A bunch of old schoolers kind of discussing
Sure.
the history leading up to where we are and trying to think of everybody who was involved. And it was fun for what it was. It was a celebration.
What did everybody miss on your show on Tuesday in the competitive?
It turned out to be a really good show. Peter Bone, some people here may know of, a few different companies. Health Elevate is one, and he works with like terpenes, different combinations of terpenes and in cannabinoids. Not too much on the THC side. He kind of wants to target those who like the idea of don't want to get high type of a thing. He likes that market. And coming up with different products that range from to attempt to help out with a particular condition to nutrition. So he's got some of the components of his companies like their fitness. But we also had this woman on who I believe would make a great guest for Here Some Night. Who moved here from northern Arizona not too long ago. She's been in the industry working in several states. She has a science background, pharmaceutical background. Came over into the cannabis world a few years ago. Came to Michigan to work with a company that didn't work out, and she latched onto another company while here, so she's staying here now. and her knowledge of the processes and the current science of cannabis and that type of stuff is, her person is right up there with anybody, and she's a very interesting conversation. So she was on, and we actually talked about the meaning of the labels of like sativa and indica and if they have any real value. And the answer turned out to be no.
What did she say was the important identifiers that would be interesting?
Well, both Peter and her talked about, and they used the word entourage, and we not corrected them, but suggested that Dr. Grinspoon's description of the ensemble effect might be a little bit more accurate, and talked about that for a little bit. But they both believe that it's a combination of all the components working together with the individual to create the effect, which seems to be the most up to date.
Talking
it doesn't matter, if it's a skinny leaf plant with, that was sinewy that took, more weeks to flower, or the short squatty plant with the broad leaves that took less time to flower. Depends on what's inside of it, not whether or not what the labels are.
And we're talking mostly medical for medicinal purposes, or just the general quality for individual choices, for recreational?
Well, we did. The discussion was largely medical, just because of the basis of it, but it wasn't restricted to that. We talked about a wider range of stuff. Yeah, it was largely a medical focused, or health and wellness anyway, focused conversation.
Okay.
She's the head of the science committee for the National Cannabis Industries Association as well.
All right.
So anyway, that was just a very interesting conversation. We'll check that out. I think she would offer a great discussion on here.
We're always interested, especially when it's got science behind it. We're always good at that.
And as far as the MORE Act goes, two major issues I'm left with, not being an expert on it, but checking it out and being involved in a couple discussions. The 5%, I think maybe even 5 to 8% proposed federal sales tax, that on top of what's already going on, would begin to defeat the practicality of the end consumer getting a decent deal on the product. And of course, the concern by many that they go get it from a different source, not of mine, but that's how the discussion goes. And so that should be lower, in my opinion, 1 to 2% maybe if they're going to get in on it, not 5 to 8. And then the restricting participation in the process from those who have had previous cannabis legal issues or whatever. That's really, they're fine with expungement and getting people out of prison and all this kind of stuff. Our state's fine with letting people who had previous cannabis issues participate. So that part should not be in there either.
Jamie, I read something that Mitch McConnell is actually considering putting it up for a vote now because of that aspect, where it fucks over people with marijuana convictions from getting into the industry ever, and it's
yeah, get it while it's bad, right? Or they're thinking how that might help out the Georgia situation too. I've heard, but I don't think it's going to happen, and we'll see. But it doesn't seem likely, but anything's possible.
Well, we're going to hear from people that are more in the know.
Yes,
I think
that's why.
That's what. But before they come
Howard,
on, since
I would listen to Howard, that's for sure.
Since we're having our guests on at 8:30, we need to get prepared. We're going to take a quick break.
I do want to mention one point of really important, interesting stuff that happened in Michigan. I know a lot of you heard that Rudy Giuliani was diagnosed with COVID, but I don't know if you heard that he filed a lawsuit to try to have it overturned. Just kidding.
The COVID.
That's funny. That's really funny. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be right back.
Guess what? He lost.
Yeah, he did. So
He ripped one.
yeah, bummer for him. He
All right, I guess
one.
we're taking a break. We'll be right back. Planet Green is officially episode number 493.
Yeah.
Calling it Tabernacle.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
I am Earl from G3 Cannabis Therapy Network, and you are watching Planet Green Trees, the original and #1 podcast in Michigan for all things cannabis and legal news.
Hey folks, this is Amanda Joslin with the Amanda Report, sponsored by Komorn Law, aired on Planet Green Trees TV. We're here in East Tawas, and man is it beautiful weather, but a little windy. We're about to do a review on the Botanical Company. I'm here with Danielle, and we're at the Botanical Company in East Tawas. Tell us a little bit about your location here.
So we are in Northeast Michigan in the beautiful town of East Tawas. We opened in October of 2019 with our medical license, and then February of 2020 we got our recreational license. We have been warmly welcomed by this community, so we're so excited to be here. And obviously you can always find us on Weed Maps and Leafly with any location information.
Very nice, okay. All right, so let's hear about some of the products that you carry here at the Botanical Company.
Definitely flower is a fan favorite here, so we want to make sure that our flower selection is very strong. And then obviously we're always listening to our guests and making sure that any new products coming online, we're getting them in as soon as possible and they're available for sure.
Tell me about another thing that may make Botanical Company a little unique.
I would say it's our aggressive loyalty program. Tawas is a fantastic tourist town through the summer months, but we know once those tourists leave, we have to make sure that we're doing right by our local demographic. So we wanted to make sure that our loyalty program was aggressive for them, so they were coming back and spending their hard-earned bucks and getting the best bang for their buck.
Very nice. Okay, so tell us about how somebody would get started here. I understand you have both adult use and medical use. So what would somebody that's looking to sign up, what would they need to have?
On the medical side, you just need your valid NMJ card and a valid driver's license or state ID. And then on the recreational side, you just need a valid ID. And then really we want to make it very friendly and make it a place where either if you're new to the cannabis lifestyle or very well versed and know exactly what you want, we just want to make sure it's a friendly atmosphere to come on in and spend as much time with our budtenders as you'd like to.
So other locations, what can we expect from the Botanical Company, Danielle?
We're so excited. We have our vertically integrated facility being built as we speak in Lansing. Such a strong cannabis culture there. That will be our cultivation, processing, and provisioning. That really is our flagship location.
Very exciting.
So November 1st, we hope to have provisioning open there. So we're just over the moon about that.
Yeah.
And then also up in the wonderful town of Kalkaska, such a great cannabis vibe in that town. We love it. We're going to be opening provisioning and then also social use lounge, which is just, we're so excited to be able to come and get your products. They're right next door to each other. You can come and shop and go next door and just check out some music or hang out, and we're over the moon about it.
I can't wait.
Yeah, us too. Us
Yeah,
too.
so I guess we'll have to be making another trip up north to take a look at not only the provisioning center, but also the lounge. And I understand there's going to be some awesome Kalkaska Kush.
Oh,
going on.
Kalkushka.
Kalkushka.
For our friends at Real Leaf Solutions.
Very nice.
And
Very
it
nice.
is something that you can currently find at Tawa Store. And we will be obviously providing that at all of our locations, and it is phenomenal. Try it if you can find some.
So keep your eyes open, folks, and we'll be reporting more with their Lansing location and their Kalkaska location. This is Amanda with the Amanda Report, sponsored by Komorn Law and aired on Planet Green Trees. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
An important and historical farm crop in American agriculture has returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis Sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
Komorn Law. Michael Komorn is one of the top attorneys in Michigan that has experience and dedication in criminal defense law. Komorn Law can take your case from arrest all the way from trial, appeals, and even to the Supreme Court. The team at Komorn Law has the compassion and the experience you can look to for help in your time of need. Komorn Law has over 25 years experience in criminal defense. We have accomplished numerous legislative changes through community involvement and lobbying. Our award-winning law firm has a reputation like no other for keeping overreaching government accountable and in check. We have built Komorn Law for people who need lawyers to stand up to the system, fight back and win. Once we become your lawyer, you become a part of our family. Don't settle for less, just ask our clients. Komorn Law, the best damn criminal defense lawyers, period.
Hi, this is retired Sergeant Steve Miller, and you are watching Planet Green Trees.
All right. We're live.
All right, we are live back
Live.
to Planet Green Trees and stuff, and
It looks like we have a missing quadrant.
This should be the formal name of the show, Planting Green Trees and stuff.
Planet Green Trees and stuff, episode number 493, Tabernacle. Our guests here, what's the story? Who's in charge of making sure they're here on time? I guess it doesn't matter.
This is what happens when you do it live. Maybe we should
do it
roll.
live.
There you go. There it is. Read my mind,
Do it
Tommy.
live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Well, let's talk about something else.
All right, we got it.
Man, I'll tell you this, though. I am really interested in Howard's take on what McConnell's thinking. I mean, I have a hard time believing that it's even a remote consideration, but if he gets on here and says this is a serious consideration and discusses that'll be...
You'll eat your tie. You'll eat your tie. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'll just be very captivated by his perspective because I respect it. He's down there doing a lot of work and he's right up close
He's in
with
the
a lot
thick
of
of
action.
things. Yeah.
And I like hearing what he has to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to text him now.
Steve's gonna text him. I'm not sure where our other guest is either, but that's okay.
Now that's
okay.
Oh, let's talk about this. This is an interesting point. Just until they get here, we can get this. Kim Worthy releases the list of 51 untruthful police officers.
Bad boy list.
I want to remind any of our listeners, you can check this out in episode number 4. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like where I talked about how I got a call from the Kim Worthy Conviction Integrity Unit, and they notified me that a case that I had 2001, a month after 9/11, murder in the first degree, conviction that probably should not have happened. They told me that they were overturning the conviction, set aside the conviction because the conviction had no integrity. Kind of blew me away. It was a brilliant thing. I think every prosecutor's office should have it. It's some kind of scaling of the amount of injustice that happens and puts some neutrality in what is sometimes an out-of-control, broken system.
Said he is.
And to the extent that I compliment her for doing that, and you could say a little late, should happen earlier, it is something that I have not seen in other places, and I would advocate for it. What's even more remarkable is that Kim Worthy released a list of 51 untruthful police officers. And the headline goes like this. There's 51 police officers or ex-police officers on a list that was released Monday by Kim Worthy's office who have been found to be untruthful. Prosecutor Kim Worthy in July said she planned quarterly public releases of the Giglio list. This is known as what's Giglio material in the category of Brady material, information or facts about a case discovery that is exculpatory in nature, inclined to help the defendant, and Giglio refers to untruthful witnesses.
I mean, someone was doing some low-down shit.
Hey, Michael, so the first time she put out a list, it was my understanding that nobody on that list was currently active, and it was kind of meaningless.
True.
You mentioned there's a combination of active and inactive on this new list of 51 people?
Well, the former Flint police chief, this guy James Tolbert, is no longer. And it may be true. Let me go on. So the police officers who have been found guilty of lying are called Giglio impaired after this case, as we talked about. And Monday's list was issued a few weeks later than its scheduled release at the end of the third fiscal quarter. Worthy said in a statement, because trials are scheduled to resume in January, we thought it was important to send this out to our prosecutors and defense attorneys. In advance of this release, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office has notified all police agencies who have current or former officers on the list, Worthy said. So there are some. We are continuing to take the additional step of releasing the list to the public because in an era of criminal justice reform, it just makes sense. We plan to review, update, and release the list on a quarterly basis. All the 51 officers on the list have been separated from the agencies they worked for when they were deemed untruthful. Most of the officers on the list came from Detroit, although Inkster, Highland Park, Lincoln Park, and Harper Woods are also represented. It's unclear if any of the officers on the list are still employed as cops. There you go. 13 of the ex-officers on the list are in prison. So it's unclear at that point. The information with the story seems to suggest that they called various police departments to let them know, but that doesn't mean that there was somebody active working there, right? Again, it is an era of criminal justice reform. It seems like the right thing to do. It could be said that it's a little late.
A little bit, but, better late than never, I guess. It's,
Well, better if it's practical. Like if those people on the list actually has value to help out somebody's case.
That also would be nice.
Well, we know at least that this is, again, it's, you would think if you've got a Giglio list of 51 and those officers are no longer active, that they are retired and they're not going to have an impact on any current cases, but clearly probably had an impact on other cases, which is why you would need a conviction integrity unit. They go hand in hand. Yep. And it's a little late in the game to address these things. It's
real late. It's
never too late because...
Sure it is. Good. They have qualified immunity to begin with.
But they sue or no sue. There's something more important at the time. Is the freedom, freedom.
Well, that's the point. It is too late. These people that they've impacted have gone to jail, have had other penalties, levied against them, and now what? How do they make it right? They don't. It's impossible.
Well, as wrong as it is, again, I'm going to try to paint a silver lining, which is that if you're doing life in prison and you do 20 years and they overturn your conviction because the conviction didn't have integrity, it's better than doing life, right?
I mean, you're right. You're not wrong. I still think it's too late.
Well,
it's better late than never, though.
Right. And the only, listen, I would say this. You think, what it does represent is a new era of looking at convictions and looking at police officers' integrity, which is an important way to look at it. It's really amazing. I was thinking about this the other day. It was this morning when I read this article, how, the real spirit of the criminal justice system is that we would be suspicious of every aspect of the government. It's like they're the ones have to prove their truthfulness and veracity as going forward. It's not, they don't get the default that cops never lie. It shouldn't be that way. Like the rules are to protect the defendant from the government prosecuting you.
And just admitting that this is the case, you're saying I agree with that. Like you haven't heard about this before. I'm bitching about whether or not it might even be an active person that could be really useful right now.
Right.
But it's true that they don't typically even admit that this even goes on. That's what's happening here.
Correct.
Could any previous cases be affected by
exposure? Of course. I'm sure that there are convictions. In my case, well, I didn't get the exact details in terms of what the exact Brady violations were or what the actual, what I wasn't turned over and their underlying reasons why they find it to be not integral. They didn't provide that, but they found it just. Now, my, I could see scenarios happening where they've got this list and they get a claim by a prisoner who says, because the way to do this, the integrity evaluation form, they have a form online and you fill it out and say, I am not guilty of the crime. And
I need some integrity.
I need some integrity. And then they will investigate. I'm sure one of the things they do out of the gate is check to see if one of these officers was part of the case, right? Now you have at least, some premise and you may even, at this point, they may even see patterns from this. This list may be being used exclusively for that. You know what I mean? But it does, but anyways, so with all that being said, with all the tragedy, at least we're looking at it differently. At least there's a conversation that's taking place that it's not, listen, 51 on a list of how many over so many periods of time?
Yeah, it's
is it that many?
It's not significant. It is significant because it impacts people's lives, and I don't want people to think I don't think it is. But it's statistically, it's bound to happen. And the question is whether it's more prevalent and whether this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, Alan, where's Alan? Come on. Alan? Okay.
Alan Peisner. Alan.
All right, but anyways, here's
He's just resting his eyes.
is the question, is a list with 51 known to be lying police officers, let's say it's over whatever the period of time is that a lot to the general public? I mean, I don't see any other counties, cities, or other even framing a list, right? That's number one. And you know, I'm sure there's other prosecutors' offices and judges that would say, not in my county. None of the police officers in my county do that. They don't get away with that stuff here. We would know, counsel. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I'm saying to you.
You know, there's this seems to be like this huge credibility that's just automatically
that's my
given
point.
to cop, right? And then now you can point to here's some people starting to be open about the fact that you are not infallible.
There was never a list. I've had cases over the years where if you get a judge to grant a search warrant dismissal, that it's unconstitutional because they misrepresented the facts before the magistrate, they should go on a list.
Sure they should.
And it should be disclosed.
It's perjury.
Of course. So
it should be more than a list.
But
you start doing that and the shit stops.
And listen, at the end of the day, the deference, I mean, it's interesting because the idea that you can win a case on that the police are lying and you prove that they're lying and they've messed up so bad and carrying that all the way as your defense, you know, it's kind of a nullification argument, but you expose the lie and you argue if they're going to lie about that, they'll lie about all this. You know, and I've won cases like that in Wayne County.
Sure.
Because they, you know, or because a lot of the ultimate thing is who done it. You know, it's always like, you know, I saw him throw the bag to the ground or whatever it is in some kind of, you know, narcotics thing or whatever. Yeah. But you know, I just, you know, it's a very fascinating point in time on the trajectory of the law enforcement community. You know what I mean? It's good that we have reform. I know that this was the way that certain prosecutors, both in Washtenaw County and Oakland County, got elected under the reform campaign. Yeah. And Kim Worthy, of course, won. She defeated the super reformists, right? And it was a pretty close election. But
Victoria Burton Harris, she's now like an associate prosecutor with LA7, Washtenaw County.
We got Howard.
Okay. We understand Howard is joining us now, Howard Wooldridge. There he is. Okay. Let me give Howard.
We did it, Howard. We figured it out.
We did it.
Howard, of course, is a long-time...
I think you're muted, Howard. Justin?
There we go.
There we go.
Yay.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for joining us.
Police career of 18 years in mid-Michigan, retired as a detective from Bath Township. That officer, he was recognized for MAD and his focus on arresting drunk drivers. He subsequently, I know, was very involved with the LEAP, which is now renamed, and I know he's been spending he represents law enforcement in Washington, D.C. from 2005 to the present. He's been on our show before. He's a guest lecturer in 11 colleges and universities. And we're really excited to have him here. We've all been talking about what's happening in Washington these days. So please, thank you very much, Howard, for joining us tonight.
Well, I'm glad to be here with you, Steve. Whatever I can do to help.
Excellent. You know, all the talk of the talk is the MORE Act. I know we had gotten your take the last time you were on the show of what, if any, bills were going to get anywhere. I know, if I recall, you were discussing there's a bill about making it Schedule 3. There was a bill for the states' rights. But in a historic moment in our history, the House passed the MORE Act, which is, I'll let you explain what it is, the good and the bad of it. But, why don't you do this? Tell us first what you see the highlights and the lowlights of the MORE Act, if you would.
Yeah, the MORE Act was originating in the House to do two things. One, apply the 10th Amendment, states' rights, to marijuana, and so that the states could have the ability and the responsibility to set their own course, to have their own laws. In a sense, mimicking the 21st Amendment, which didn't legalize alcohol. It simply said they returned to the states the ability to choose whatever laws they wanted for their state for alcohol. So that's why you see 50 states with 50 different sets of ways to handle alcohol. Yeah, in Michigan, where I spent half my life, you can buy liquor on Sunday. In a lot of states, you can't buy hard liquor on Sunday. You certainly can't buy that at a grocery store like a Myers, like you can in Michigan, but absolutely not in Tennessee, not in Maryland, where I live now, Maryland. You can't buy liquor at the Costco. So every state does it differently, and that's what the intent of the MORE Act was. Principally, was to return that ability to the states to choose their own path. Secondly, the MORE Act had a number of good paragraphs that were going to right the wrongs done in 80 years of federal prohibition and the war on drugs. The trouble with that, the bad is that we call it here in the swamp, we call that a Christmas tree. And
Java.
In the holiday spirit, a Christmas tree is you take a simple idea, add a bunch of stuff to it that often fail when it comes to legislation. And that's what happened with MORE. It passed, but Mitch McConnell is not going to bring it up because he's not going to legislation that tells the states what to do.
Interesting, there was also they were going to unschedule it. Isn't that part of the MORE Act also? And which is an important fact. If it's unscheduled federally, it's no longer controlled, and there's
no conflict, right?
No conflict, and also, but at the end of the bill, didn't it at the end of it, there's some amendments that made it so that those with marijuana felony convictions would be precluded from participating in the industry. Isn't that right?
Well, there were a number of paragraphs added to the MORE Act, but you're obviously, yes, it was going to deschedule and essentially treat marijuana just like alcohol and tobacco. To get into the minutiae of the thing, all drugs are either Schedule 1 through 5, or they're under what's called GRAS, G-R-A-S rules, which is generally recognized as safe. So yes, aspirin and ibuprofen are drugs, but you can buy them over the counter without a prescription because they're generally recognized as safe. When the DEA came up with this idea in 1971, they said, well, what are we going to do about alcohol and tobacco? Because they're obviously not safe, they're obviously dangerous, and you don't want to have people go to a doctor to get a prescription, etc. So what are we going to do? Well, in their wisdom, they simply said, we will keep them unscheduled. And so they're in a special place in the federal scheme of things, and that's what they wanted to do with marijuana, which would be just perfect and fine, because the net effect would be to let the states do what they want with marijuana. Keep it illegal, legalize part of it, only medical, whatever. It was going to become, again, a states' rights issue.
Let me ask you, were you surprised that it passed the House?
No, but we knew we had sufficient members in the House without any Republican support. What the public doesn't know is a clean 10th Amendment bill called the States Act was also out there, and my colleagues, several of whom are Republican lobbyists, counted at least 60 Republicans in the House would vote for a simple 10th Amendment or a simple deschedule bill, but they won't vote for a liberal Christmas tree. So they vote almost all but 5 that voted against it.
And within your wisdom, is the likelihood of the MORE Act passing a pipe dream like affordable health care or a happy marriage?
It is a pipe dream. It's a complete pipe dream. That's why myself and others were pushing so hard for the States Act. That was Cory Gardner, senator from Colorado, and Elizabeth Warren, the liberal Democrat from Massachusetts, had a bill to just, as one page, apply the 10th Amendment to marijuana and return it to the states. Simple, clean, and doable. We counted the noses in the Senate. We have 64 votes in the Senate to pass a simple 10th Amendment bill or a simple deschedule bill, but that's not, now the Democrats want more than just end the federal prohibition. They want to add on these things, which most of them are good ideas, but in my opinion and others, this should be left to the states to expunge the records, give set-asides for minority, give some of the tax breaks and other things to help people who are hurt by the war on drugs and the war on marijuana. These are all fine ideas, but it should be done at the state level, not at the federal level.
And all that extra pork belly stuff is what's causing the holdup, you're saying, right?
Exactly. Republicans, God bless them, they sometimes revert to wanting to be fiscally conservative and small government and
States' rights and states' rights. That's their other.
Yeah, states' rights.
Which has not always been the case, but.
Correct.
It's not always. I mean, they've been, in especially on this issue, they haven't been that way. You think this would have been something that ended a long time ago, right? And even the Republicans that were, in states that had medical programs should say, hey, states' rights, and they weren't really that way. They weren't, it's illegal federally. They weren't, you saw a lot of that double talk stuff. But
it is double talk, and they're talking out both sides of their mouth. They're politicians. So you're exactly right. They should have applied the 10th Amendment from the beginning. I mean, from 50 years ago. Obviously, they believe in states' rights when it's convenient to talk to their voters, and then when it comes to actually changing the marijuana laws or any drug laws, they oh no, we got to protect people from their stupidity, even as they talk personal responsibility. Again, it's just they're just two-faced on the whole thing, and that's unfortunate.
Does this 10th Amendment bill that was going around, is it still alive and have a chance, or is it also it didn't get a vote in the House?